Right, I think I'm live, and 1 minute early, so I'm assuming I'm live. Just let everybody know. Just leave me a message or something, just to make sure that I'm not just live, but you can hear me. Let me just have a look. Yeah, that looks working. Right, yeah, because I don't know what's going on with this computer. I tried tinkering around with it earlier. Right, so live and clear. That's good enough for me. So I'm going to do what I did last time, if that's all right with you guys. So give me all your messages, everything you want me to look at, and then I'm going to open it up, like maybe in about half an hour, to the masses, to the public, see if anyone wants to chip in and try and, I suppose, spread my influence. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But I suppose it is a YouTube channel. I have to try and promote it, don't I? I never say like, share, and subscribe or any of that stuff. But if you wouldn't mind just liking it, just in advance of me opening it up to the public, just to make me seem a little bit more popular than I really am. Right, so let's get started. So I made my video this morning or today. I still stand by that. That's my overall picture. So let's just have a quick look at the Dixie. Still going. Like I say, with this bullish reversal pattern, I do imagine it to continue to go up. Well, if you have a look at the way that it's moving, well, I would still expect some kind of pullbacks. But it's bullish formation. It's bullish setup. This is the sort of thing that we like to see with any chart, isn't it? Really. I mean, we're breaking above the 200 exponential, which should always be the baseline of a support. It looks like we're trying to test that as support today. We've got a conversion baseline here above the cloud with a Chiku span above the price action, snaking these two exponentials together. And I would imagine that if we look at some of these, we've got golden cross back here. We're supported. It's bullish. Let's not go into too much details. It's kind of depressing, really. Well, it's not depressing if you're American. I mean, you don't want your dollar to be completely trashed, but as far as our investments are concerned, we don't want it to rise too much. There's only so far it's likely to go. I mean, let's just put it there. There's only so far it's likely to go. But without this whole video being about the dollar, it is something that we've got to look at. And like I say, it's in a bullish formation, so I imagine it to continue to make higher highs and higher lows until it reaches a peak. So this would basically be my first area of a decent rejection, 33.366. And if that breaks, it probably will. To be honest with you, we probably will be looking at some of these higher points, maybe around 94 to 94.6. So anyway, it's this isn't a altcoin. It's not going to do that immediately, but it is doing it, and it's doing it quite constructively. So we have to recognise that. And Bitcoin dominance doing its usual boring thing, basically flat as a bloody pancake, not offering us any kind of clues as to what's going on. But I do expect it to break down. If we have a quick look here at the Bitcoin dominance, what we have here is a conversion baseline beneath the clouds. So this is the sort of thing that we're going to be looking at when it comes into bear market territory. These are the sort of things that we look at for shorting, right? So I know that this is just a Bitcoin dominance chart, but it's a chart all the same, and that is a short signal right there. That's what we look for. It's a shorting signal, and we would short any asset that has that. It's the opposite of what we normally look at. We've probably not seen any of those, I suppose, since you guys follow me, really, because this channel, really, even though I did do some videos in a bear market, no one watched them. Why would you? So yeah, I mean that is a short signal. So that is good for Bitcoin dominance. So depending on it doesn't really matter, I suppose, what Bitcoin wants to do. If we look at that, that's a short signal. So I would expect new lows fresh lows to be put in for Bitcoin dominance eventually. And we all sort of, I suppose, have come to recognize what Bitcoin dominance stands for, why we look at it, for an alt season, So, but again, at the moment it's still flat as a pancake. Does this have to play out? I mean, we got one here, didn't we? It didn't really do a great deal. We've got another one here, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But yeah, I'm technically in favour of this breaking down than breaking out. But at the moment, this is our range. Right, so that's all that boring stuff out of the way. A bit of an overview, but that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling that the pressure is on for the market as a whole. Doesn't mean we can't do pumps, but the pressure is on as a whole due to the Dixie. But even though the pressure is on, there is still probably some opportunities to be made. And if we have a brief look at Bitcoin, this is the area, this is the first point here. We've not touched it yet. The 21 EMA, that's where I expect to find a rejection for Bitcoin. It's not the be all and end all. We may push beyond that, but we've got that. We've got the 10 exponential. We've also got the 20 simple, the center of the Bollinger Band above us. So 3 areas of resistance coming in more or less at 54,400 to a maximum of potentially 56. But I'm still not in favour of bears or anything like that. I mean, it's been a nice bounce, hasn't it? But I think it could be that's perhaps maybe all it is. We are going into a weekend. We know, weekends are kind of crazy, aren't they? So it could push. It could definitely push beyond all of that. But I don't have a particular bias. So I know that I like to start these live streams with a summary that we can transfer onto. I can't get my words out. That we can transfer onto all the charts that we look at, but because I have no particular bias right now, I'm kind of in the middle. And you might see some YouTubers, I'm sure you all watch other YouTubers and stuff, that probably probably have a bit more of a, I don't know, a bit more conviction over what they say. It has to go this way, it's going to go this way, I am telling you it's going to this way. I don't want to mislead anybody into giving you a case for either the bulls or the bears, really. I mean, I just don't want to mislead you. I personally don't have a preference, but if someone had a gun to my head and forced me to make a call, and honestly, like I say, I don't have a bias, I don't have a particular strong opinion over it, but if someone had a gun to my head and said, what do you think is going to happen, I would expect it to be rejected around this zone. Now what that does to altcoins, in the short term, is obviously it's like to bring altcoins down, and this is the silver lining of this analysis, I suppose, this summary. The silver lining is that, with Bitcoin dominance being so, oh my computer's bloody freezing now, isn't it? With Bitcoin dominance being at this kind of towards this crucial zone, there is always that chance that we do break down below 60% dominance, and if that is the case, then yeah, alts will rally. And you might think that this is all crazy when I say that alts could rally while Bitcoin goes down, but I have to bring your attention back to, and you're not idiots. You guys have, we've seen this, but Bitcoin went down throughout this period, and altcoins went up. So that's back here. Bitcoin went down. That's where the dominance started to fold over, and altcoins went up. So, and again, if I could take you all the way back to, all the way back to the previous parabolic high. Bitcoin topped out there, started to go down significantly. Altcoins rallied. So it's not as black and white as it might sound. Obviously, altcoins will go down with Bitcoin, but then will they bounce massively if we break down below 60% dominance? They could very much do that. So, hopefully that has all made sense to you, and if it doesn't, I don't blame you, because it's not very clear in my mind, nor should it be, because there's no clear cut situation going on right now. But we've got a few variables. We've got a bearish Bitcoin dominance, we've got a bullish Dixie, we've got a consolidating market, we have a significant bounce, we're heading into the weekend. So you can see with all these things merged together, it clouds the waters. Do you know what I mean? It muddies the waters, that's the right phrase, isn't it? And so I have to say, I'm reasonably uncertain of a great deal in these next coming days, and to be honest with you, worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, is that we do get rejected from here and we come back down and break down below the green 50 and actually do have a deeper correction, and that wouldn't be a bad thing, because we're still very much in line with the 4-year cycle and the stock and flow. So the general direction is clearly up. Look, so even if we broke down significantly, come down to the 20-week moving average, bringing us down to around 36.5, maybe higher. It depends. I'm not saying this is going to happen straight away, but still very much a bullish chart. Very much a bullish chart. Breaking down below there is a different story. But the odds are in our favour on the long term. And there's been quite a few altcoins. I know I'm rambling here, but I will go into charts and stuff. But there's been quite a few altcoins that I've been looking at, which seem to, on their Satoshi pairings especially, they have a certain vibe about them as time frame wise to suggest that May, June, July, August would give them the freedom to run. And so if you watch my channel long enough, back last year, sort of I suppose November or so, I was calling for the alt season to take place this year in mid to late January, which it did kick off around that time. And it's not because I had a crystal ball or anything like that. It's because I was looking at lots and lots of different altcoins, lots of them, and they all had this setup which suggested that it doesn't matter what they're doing right now. When it comes to mid to late January, they will have the freedom to run, and then basically the alt season started mid to late January. So again, there's no crystal ball. So if everything does collapse and fall down and go completely tits up, the charts on the weekly time frames suggest that alts will have a significant upper hand from anywhere as early as May through to August, really. So that's something to bear in mind. Anyway, just something to think about. Right, so let's get stuck in then, shall we? First on the list is RSR. Let's get rid of FET. Obviously, I'm stuck to the FET chart in my spare time. Wow. Did I see that right? Oh, what's going on? What was that? Is this really down for the right? Okay, I don't know what happened there. I was going to say I'm pretty sure when I put that in there, it said 17% down. Must be some kind of weird delay. This computer, it needs a going over. It needs a serious talking to. Right, so it's very much like the rest of these charts, isn't it? But it's pretty bold and bullish, I have to say, though. I have to say, way better than the majority of the altcoins that I've been looking at throughout the day. So yeah, I mean, look, there's no candle body closures at the moment. Yesterday's candle, shooting star to the center of the Bollinger Band, but today we've broken out and up the top and essentially above all major moving averages. Let's have a look at all of this. So these are, that's showing divergence, but it's nothing to write home about. So let me just get my head around this, because I've not seen a chart look like this today. So, at the end of the day, what we're seeing here is higher highs, higher highs, higher lows, higher lows. A decent structure, a conversion baseline over here. Let's just measure this out, because I'm not convinced that was 26 periods. So that's a shame, because we did have a decent signature, but it crossed into there. I'd be willing to say that we can get away with that and just say, all right, fair enough, that's a non-signal, because that's a decent cross, and these are diverging, and obviously the uptrend is still in play. So I like the way that it looks. Definitely, it's definitely one of the stronger ones. And look at the stair steps on it. All right, the stair steps are very neat and tidy, and pretty aggressive as well. When I talk about a bot, this could be a decent bot. Anyway, against anything, I'd imagine the power against sats would probably look like a similar chart, because these moves are massive. They're very volatile. Yeah, it's crazy. Right, so let's see if we can get some kind of rhythm on this, because this has been a steady away for a while now. That doesn't work. Let's have a look at the weekly. So the weekly, even though it's super bullish, we're not overextended on the weekly either. It's not the oldest chart in the world, though, so we don't have a great deal to go by on this. As far as structure is concerned, it's generally okay. The last time we broke down below the centre of the Bollinger Band was down here, and then we continued with the rally, and we got our second wind over here with our signal. I like it. I think it's a decent one, to be honest with you. I do think it's pretty decent. Let's just check something. Why isn't it getting what is going on with this computer today? It's doing my absolute nut in. Why is that there? Absolutely doing my head in. Right, yeah. So, yeah, it's a good chart. It's a good chart. And remember what I said about summarising this, the overall market. This is going to go until it doesn't go. it's going to be so hard to because obviously I'm not a financial advisor, and the reason I start these live streams with these overall summaries is because I don't want people to think that just because this is a good chart, which it is a really good chart, just because it's a good chart is going to have to play out, because Bitcoin, we're coming up to that resistance now as we speak. We're probably going to hit it on the, it might, that could you could consider that to already be hit right now, and that could be it now for Bitcoin, and we could start to see everything drop back down, if not there, within a few $100s. So this is why I'm hesitant to say this is excellent and it will continue, it's going to be great, because if this does reject from here, then this will reject from here, and if it does, then we'll come back down into the bearish zone of the Bollinger Band, and then we may be looking at the end of a trend. So it's really difficult for me to see these charts for what they are, because of my expectation, not a very strong expectation, but my expectations of supports or resistances in the very short term time frame of Bitcoin. I have to say I'm not massively bearish. I've said it, obviously I've already said that, I'm repeating myself. I'm not massively bearish, but the market is, as we saw yesterday, very susceptible to Bitcoin's pullbacks. Altcoins were extremely susceptible, weren't they, yesterday? In fact, there was a lot of people considering the end of the world, really, and I kind of fell into that emotional trap of thinking maybe it is the end of the world, maybe it is. Anyway, so the chart is good, and as far as altcoin charts are concerned, this is definitely a front runner. If not, for the immediate term timeframes, for its structure and the way that it's looking, the way that it's shaping up, the fact that there's a trend in play at the moment that's not been cancelled out. It's a good one. I like it. Will we peak this? Well, let's have a quick measure. I know I've spent a fair bit of time on this. Let's have a look at these tops. So we've got a double top here to the next rally. Took a month. This one took from the top to the next rally took 22 days. This one obviously took less. So we're seeing a speeding up of these rallies. So given the fact that they're almost halving every time there's a rally, if we're going to get one, we might get one soon, and if we get one soon, it might be a savage one, so pretty massive, and then that might be time to get out on the next big tick. We could also probably squeeze one of these in here, an uptrending level of resistance, and maybe even get one for support. Let's have a think. It's not really going to work, the support, so that's good in a way, because it's showing that it's not a channel, but what we are looking at here is a resistance. So if we break above there, that's where we probably see an actual parabolic move, and that would probably be a good time maybe to get out at least some of your position. There's a good one though. Yeah, it is a good one. Right, 1 inch on Binance. So this one's it's kind of upsetting me in a way, because I did expect a bit more from it. Now we came up to test this zone and got knocked straight back down. A massive rejection on this one, and to be honest, this is another one of those knife catchers at the moment. I do think that it will eventually rally quite hard, given the market at the moment and the way that this chart is set up at the moment. It's not particularly bullish. We do have conversion baseline cross here in the cloud. That's not relevant. It's just not relevant. And at the moment rejected from the 10 exponential. So I think this one is weaker than I thought it was going to be. I did think it was going to break out before. The market has stopped it, and it's not shown any decent signs of strength. We're not probably going to see any decent signs of strength until we break above this zone here at $5.06. Why is this doing this? If anyone can explain this to me, why? How can I fix this? Why isn't it giving me my price? What is this sidebar doing here now? Oh my god. I'm going to lose some subscribers tonight. So yeah, it's as simple as that. This is a heavy resistance here where we broke down significantly, rejected from once again, and when we break above there, that's when we go for the big move. But for the moment, we're technically weak. We're weak. I'm not going to say we're bearish, but we're weak. We're below all major moving averages, and it's a young coin as well, and It's difficult to chart the Yon coin, but it's as simple as that. And this would be it's as basic and simple as that. But given the setup with the Bollinger Bands even ending just before that resistance zone, I don't think we're looking for a giant parabolic move or a consistent uptrend until we break above that zone, which is a further 27% away from where we are at right now. Doesn't mean we can't do a 20% move up to it, but the odds are against us at the moment. It doesn't look like anything I would particularly be interested in. Even though, you know, I own some already. I've kind of forgotten about it. And oh yes, KCS. So I got this up for you. Qcoin has been doing my absolute head in because I got this all set up and ready to go. I had to put all my indicators in, and then realised I thought I'd be able to transfer. I don't trade on Qcoin, but I couldn't transfer my entire object tree over to anything else, which is so annoying. So I had to put them all over again. Right, so let's have a look. What we've got here? A huge, massive, giant parabolic move, and a relatively stable and flat consolidation. We are pretty much above all major moving averages. Yes, we are. This is accumulation at a high level. So let's have a think about it. On the daily term timeframes, it looks like, you know, everything looks kind of a bit like this. It looks promising. It does look promising, but it's basically the same chart as everything that we generally look at and that we will be looking at. And even though it looks completely different, if we just forget about where it's been, you know, all the way down here, all the way up there, so we forget about all of that. The relationship it has right now to the moving averages is the important thing, which is that basically they're merging into one. We're not getting any clear signals or anything like that at the moment. On the daily, it's very much the same as every altcoin in that respect. But if this one were to move, it could move pretty aggressively, definitely, because it has done in the past, and I imagine a lot of people are probably going to be excited about it moving again. When you get moves like this, they often do repeat at least one more time, and I think that's probably what we're going to be looking at. Now, if we have a look at the MACD, this is snaking down like this, slow and steady. It's a redistribution of people, you know, who didn't get out at the top, who have been getting out around here as other people have been buying in. That's usually the kind of vibe you get from the MACD, that snakes down like this slowly without diverging massively, cooling off basically. So I think, you know, if the market is kind, and maybe even happen this weekend, this one will probably do another rally. Whether it, you know, peaks at its last high, I couldn't tell you. If it did, it would be still pretty good. I would expect it to do that, but I would be thinking of taking profits. I don't know why it's done such a giant, massive move, to be honest with you. Let's just have a look a bit closer. And we work out if there was any signatures prior to this. Well, there was a golden cross. Let's look a bit closer than that. Come on. Was this right? Okay, so yeah, I mean, it was a good signal back down here. Conversion baseline, followed by a golden cross. We didn't have a dump down into it, which made it seem even stronger than most. And then yeah, so it was based upon a signal. There might have been some fundamental development to it as well, but yeah, the signal was good and strong and proper, and it's caused that. So it looks like a bullish reaccumulation basically around this level. And where have we been in the past? Right, okay, so that's interesting. We zoom out, and we have been pretty high in the past. 2018 though, so fair enough. What's going on back down here? This one, in my opinion, this one is likely to have another run. These peaks around this zone, around $5.41 from the previous tops. It's probably why we're struggling around this area. $5.41, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's ready for another run if the market allows for it. It definitely would do another run if the market is healthy. If the market's unhealthy, it probably won't. But yeah, it's worth keeping an eye on. So maybe I should fire up the old Qcoin again. And get some trading done on it, because there's obviously a lot of opportunity there. I see a lot of people using the bots on Qcoin and doing really well out of it. So there's yeah, but yeah, I mean, like I say, it's difficult for me to really say exactly. Right, and I've got this one lined up for you already. LCX. So this one is, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with these wicks. I don't know what the volume's like on this. I can imagine it's probably not great to have such wicks like that. That's the only explanation for such jagged price action. Even down here it's pretty jagged as well. But that said, if we just focus on the candle bodies, pretty much like the majority of other altcoins that we see, we got the conversion baseline back down here, golden cross over here. So this one is it is still in an uptrend, definitely, but it's going to have to rally significantly, above. Well, I'd say, to be safe, above these zones around 12.3 cents for this to get above here and be safe. How long have we got before hell breaks loose? We've got 2 weeks for it to do that. So I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Again, this is on TradingView. I've got limited information here, but given the look of the wicks on this one, I'd imagine this trades at quite low volume, which is why it looks so jagged. And low volume coins means that you can't really put a great deal in because the liquidity is so low. It kind of puts me off unless you're expecting something else anyway. Let's have a look on the larger time frames. What have we got here? So it's not old enough really to give any strong vibes on here, but I suppose when you look at it like that, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? But again, look at that big pump there, and then a massive dump, another big pump here, potentially another big dump. I would be too scared to trade it myself, given the wicks that we're looking at. 4 hourly still okay, holding okay at this level here, just coming down beneath the cloud now with a fresh cross from this last pump that we had. So undecided, and it's I know that probably sounds terrible, and I expect to lose subscribers, because if I'm not here to give signals or calls or anything like that. That's really not my intention. I can't put hopium into people's heads, because I feel like that would be the worst thing to do. So I don't personally like a chart that looks like that. Right, let's have a look at Chainlink, shall we? So before you all decide to leave and never come back, because I'm not giving you any insight tonight, if you can just like the video, I'm going to open this up in about 20 minutes to the masses, and maybe I can recruit some more Patreons after you lot have all left. Right, Chainlink. So we broke down below this formation, so it's not relevant anymore. We are below all major moving averages, which is obviously not a good sign. It's looking a little bit more like a bubble pop, but then I suppose, if people and I see this a lot with some of these tokens now, that they're almost being forgotten about. And Chainlink used to be the be all and end all. Everybody was loving Chainlink, and it's one of those coins that I suppose when in doubt you zoom out and have a look at the weekly and just go, hang on a minute, what am I talking about? Yeah, this is clearly something that's consistent. This goes back, all the way back down here, 2018, and before then. It was in this continuous uptrend, which just gets more savage each time it goes. Now, the pattern of this savage uptrend comes down to test the 20 weekly moving average each time. So even this one, 20 weekly, and this one, well, that was quite close to a 20 weekly, but it wasn't actually the 20 weekly. We spent a lot of time here, so it's I suppose it gives you a lot of time to write it off. It personally, is in a bullish formation on the weekly still. Look, conversion baseline, Chico, above all major moving averages on the weekly. Daily, we are, unfortunately, one of the most bearish ones that we've seen so far, being, even rejected for what would appear right now. Coming right down below the Bollinger Band there. How's the relationship to the RSI on these drops? So that was a significant one all the way down to there. So even when you look at it on the daily, on these savage moves up, it does want to always come down and have a little test of the 200 exponential as well. It's done that. It looks like every time. So there is always that very realistic possibility that we do come back down to around about it looks like $19.50. I'm not saying it's going to. Again, you know, all of this is market dependent, but that's a very realistic possibility that we do come down and test, or even if it's not at that level, the 200 exponential might want to get tested. It does have a pattern to it on the weekly and on the daily of massive moves up and big moves back down again. So I would keep that in mind. But you know, we're bouncing like everything else is bouncing, and like I said, you know, at the beginning of the video, this could quite easily just be a bounce before the next rejection down, and until it gets into any kind of established uptrend, we have to look at the lower term, you know, the lowest targets possible. If you want to buy this blindly and go for it, that's not such a bad idea, because you know, on the weekly generally, you know, it's been bullish since forever, and actually, if we go back down to the daily, we've had a golden cross for years, absolutely years. In fact, you know, all the way back before the 200 exponential came into existence on Binance, it's been in a bullish situation since forever. So it's one of those tokens that, yeah, you might buy into it, and you might be holding it for a very, very long time, disappointed with it, upset with it, while you watch all your friends get involved in high risk alts which are going left, right and centre all the way to the moon. But then when in doubt, zoom out, it would appear that overall it's going to continue up, and it should be okay. As far as a hodl coin is concerned, this is one of those. Do you know what I mean? It is one of those. The long term time frames show it to be the most bullish, as opposed overall the most consistently bullish. And again, being throughout the 2019 bear market, let's call it a bear market, it was 6 months worth of bear trend, and not even getting a death cross throughout that, that's an achievement. I don't think any other altcoins did that, so this one did. So I would say it's a decent one to hold and keep holding, but as of right now, I'm not particularly fond of the way it looks at all. But you know, we are looking at a pivotal sort of moment right now. So pivotal meaning we could go up, we could go down. I'm not, like I say, in favour of any more than others, but with Bitcoin looking the way it is, yeah, we could quite easily come down. But you know, hopefully that was okay for you again. I'm sure I will lose you as a subscriber also, because that's not, yeah. Like I say, long term, this is good. It's really good. Weekly is really good. Even the daily is really good long term. It's just very short term. That's the problem I've got as of right this minute. It's difficult for me to say what's going to happen over the next few days, until a decision, I suppose, a more obvious direction has been forged. But regardless of that, Chainlink should still come out on top in the end. So that's that one. Can you have a look at UTK? Okay, yeah, so it looks like a Bitcoin chart, doesn't it? It does look like the Bitcoin chart. So that said, it's clearly correlated with Bitcoin quite heavily, and so I suppose I would have to say whatever is relevant to Bitcoin is relevant to UTK. It's not really doing anything that Bitcoin is not doing. They're basically the same chart. So it's not. It's not. It depends on Bitcoin. UTK. It depends on Bitcoin. It's pretty much doing the same thing. That's all I have to say about that one. And nulls. Let's have a peep. Also pretty much a Bitcoin chart. We've got a double top up here with a smaller wick on the last occasion. Actually, it looks a little bit like a FET chart actually. So yeah, I mean, this is the area of importance, and actually it is a lot like a FET chart, to be honest with you. So if that is the case, I don't know if we looked at this before, and I don't know if I said that before, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. So yeah, I mean, we've reclaimed the Bollinger Band here, which is better than Bitcoin, definitely. We've got conversion baseline over here, which is still in play. So I would probably expect a retest of this zone here, 98 cents, and hopefully we'll break that. And if we break that, that's when we get things get pretty interesting. I'd say that's when we have the bullish breakout. And I've obviously already looked at this before, and yeah, this would be the next zone. So we've got this upwards trending level of resistance. We had a top, and probably a top wherever this is, and then this would be the area for a really big move. And if we have a look down here, that's not particularly nice to see. That's pretty steep. That's a pretty nasty looking MACD there for the moment. But you know, it is what it is. Bearish divergence that probably looks like it might have already played out, or not even played out properly, to be honest. That's a decent reset, I'd probably say, at that level. So yeah, this one could have the power to could have the power to make that definitely a move up to there, and then if we break above there, then we look at those other zones that we saw here and here. Probably see rejections around there, but it's this zone would probably get a decent move. This zone would probably get a massive move. So we could be looking at something that's potentially getting ready for a continued uptrend. Again, the market, the Dixie, the market, and the Dixie. So poor old nulls might not get a chance, but if it's primed definitely. If the market is good to it, if the market allows it, it is primed for the move, I would say. If you may test up here, break above. Once we've broken above here, then it will take on a new form, a more bullish form than we've got already. Hey CC, do you have any contingency plans to get out of crypto quickly, or stop limits if there were to be a one-day crash suddenly? Well, no. Look, if the market starts to crash or just crashes, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of a 50% down in a day type of vibe, like a Black Swan event type vibe, right? If that's what you're thinking about, then no, I don't have a contingency plan for that. I do take profits on the way up on the majority of the coins that I trade, so I usually have quite a sizable amount of my portfolio just in Tether anyway, because if I'm getting out in an uptrend, that Tether, I'm not going to go putting it into anything that's already in an uptrend. You know me, I trade on getting decent entry points or finding signals for specifically long-term holds and trades. So if the market were to just flash dump, then no, I actually don't have any contingency plan for that, because most of the things I buy, I buy with plenty of I suppose dumps in mind. One way I choose to look at it is that, look, if I'm continuously taking profits on the way up, and I've continuously, I suppose, stacking my Tether up, which is what's going on really. A lot of my profits get put into Tether, and they stay in Tether. I'm never all in. I always have a rule of 20% of my portfolio in Tether, and it's usually more than that because of the way that I trade. There's only a few things that I've held all in one trade and not taken profit on, and one of those is FET, for the obvious reasons that you've probably seen me talk about on my videos. Most of these other trends or these other coins that I buy into, I take profit on the way up. Like Holochain, for instance, I didn't trade that from the bottom to the top. I traded it from the bottom, got out after 100%. I can't remember the exact amounts, but I did not hold it all the way to the top. No way. I've still got some, but I sell all the way up. So I've always got loads of Tether. So if the market flash dumped, in my mind, because I look at the market on a bigger, grander scale, as in like weeklies and monthlies and I suppose yearlies, full cycles, then if there is a flash dump, it's a buying opportunity basically. That would be, if anything, that's my contingency plan. Never all in, always got quite a lot of Tether available from profit taking on the way up, and it would be a matter of waiting for the right time to buy back in. That's my contingency plan. But no, I don't have stop losses and things. I never have a stop loss on spot trades. I never do that. I don't see the point of having any of that. If I'm in a spot trade, if I'm buying something, I'm usually relatively what's the word? Not convinced, but confident enough in what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Let's see, HZ. This old chestnut, this comes up all the time now. So how's it doing at the moment then from this big move? Right, so daily, all right, it's better than most of these, definitely. So it didn't cross below the 200. I mean the center of the Bollinger Band. So if there's an entry point, if ever there were to be one, it would be these last 3 days, 1, 2, 3. Then that's be your entry point. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Yeah, I mean, if you got to be in it to win it. If this is something that you wanted to play, excuse me, and if you wanted to play it, then I would expect another decent run. Whether this would be the deciding factor. We had 2 candle body closes here. Forget about the wicks, and almost a retest of it over here. So we're talking, what is it, 72, almost 73 cents. That would be the deciding factor for me, how we reacted on the next move up, which I would expect that we get if the market, the Dixie, the market, the Dixie. See what I mean? If the market is in favour of these kind of moves, I would expect it to move up anyway, just with the way that it looks right now. We've got a nice divergence, really, really steep and diverged moving averages here. So you might look at this and go, well, that's crossed. Yeah, it will cross. I mean, it went pretty high, pretty fast. It's going to have to cross. So that's a non-anything. We don't really look at that and go anything. We don't really think about that. Not when we look at this. I would base this all upon moving averages. 1, 2, 3. And if we move, we'll move up to here. And if we break through there, then great. If we get rejected from there, which I would expect, that would be a profit-taking zone. If you were to buy here, this is what I mean. If you're buying, when I was talking about my contingency plan, you buy and you get out at least some or maybe even half your position at an obvious resistance zone, and that would be here. If it breaks through, great, you've still got plenty riding. If not, don't worry, you've taken some profit, and that would be a decent move even from where we're at right now, 41%. But look, we're closing below the 10 exponential. These two are going to diverge. You could call this in the way that if we zoom in close enough, lots of people like to draw, and I do on occasion, formations. Now we've got a bit of a triangle vibe going on here with these moving averages, and if we look at the way that the price has behaved, that's kind of what's going on here these last few days. Spinning top. You could say, support, resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance. Whichever way it breaks, that's going to have the continuation. And again, I'll lose another subscriber by not giving you an exact direction in which way it wants to go. But if you are bullish on this and you wanted to take your chance, the odds are in your favour when you're above the Bollinger Band. Provided you're above it, the odds are in your favour by 65%. If we go below it, the odds are against you for the bulls by 65%. Not a great statistic, but it's still in your favour. So that's how I would choose to play it if I wanted to do it. We're looking for a breakout of the 10 exponential and then a resistance zone around here. That's my thoughts on that one. Give a thumbs up, guys. Yep, that's true. In fact, I'm assuming you've all given a thumbs up. Let's have a quick look, and then we'll open this to the masses. 15 likes. 25 viewers, that'll do for me. So, how do I go about doing this? I hope you guys don't mind me doing this sort of thing. Public. There we go. Let's have some commoners join. Right, hey CC, can you please check out Man to BTC? Manor, I'm imagining it. Is that what you... Manor, yeah, I'm imagining that's probably what you're talking about there. Yeah, I mean that looks pretty much like the chart we've just seen, isn't it? So I would say it's even better in the way that we had a big move up and we're supported on the 10 exponential. So this one looks bullish to me. I like it. So if you're thinking about this on a bot, we have to bring it down to the low term time frames, 15 minutes. What sort of volatility are we? So I can't really give you a particular range, but even in this short term, that would have been a decent range on the 15 minute. Let's go to the hourly. It's consolidating from this last big move, and given the way that we saw it on the daily, the odds are in the favour of it going up further. Divergence is, golden cross here, conversion baseline here, nice support here. Probably will go up in my opinion. Quite high here, but not too high. It's high though. Look, worst case scenario, it dumps down a little bit further to the center of the Bollinger Band, which is still upticking. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's okay for a bot. We are sort of in a sort of a flat zone at the moment while it doesn't know what it wants to do. So because this range is actually quite small, smaller than most. Normally my bot ranges would be about 50%. So this is in a 30% range at the moment. If you really wanted to profit from it in the short term, you'd have to have it on a small range. It's not very volatile in the short term, but it doesn't mean that volatility can't come back into it. It doesn't lend itself to a bot at this stage now. It would lend itself more, if anything, to a spot trade really, because if this one moves, it will move aggressively up, and you'd rather be holding it as mana than you would trading it as a bot, if that makes sense. You want to see, and I'll mention them when I see them. If we come across anything that looks like a decent bot, we want to see big moves up, big moves down. If we look at this on the daily, I suppose you could argue that that's what this is here, but it's still not a 50% range from these wicks here, so I wouldn't say that's going to be a profitable bot. There would be better ones, but a potential big move up from here would lend itself more to a spot trade. Right, and $5. Nice one, thank you. Right, echoing TD above. Am I missing stuff here? Oh right, okay, echoing TD above. And do you have any contingency plans to get out of crypto quickly, or stop it? Right, yeah. So I've answered that, but that's the vibe. Basically, that is the vibe. No, I don't have it. I wouldn't get out quickly. Let's put it like that. I wouldn't sell the lows. If it would have to be something that broke the entire cycle fundamentally for me to cut my losses and sell at lows and just sell up. So no. But I'm assuming that there's probably a lot of people that have been buying up here, which is different, obviously, because I've been buying, all the way down. Obviously I've been doing this for a while, so it would feel different to me for things to plummet, by 50%. Obviously it wouldn't be nice. It would be quite painful, but it wouldn't be the end of the world for me, because there's been plenty of profits made. If people are getting into this now, I can understand that kind of fear, and I would expect at some point during this next less than 12 months now, that we might have that exploitation of new people. To be honest with you, there's everyone knows that the crypto market, just like any market, has a degree of manipulation in it. Crypto more than most, but the whole GameStop thing showed how manipulation of markets take place on both sides. So there's manipulation of markets, with cryptocurrency. So thinking about it in that respect, so putting that in your head, that there are a lot of new people that entered the market, halfway up this parabolic run, PayPal people and people that came in after that, and people who've never been, you've probably heard people ask you about cryptocurrency. You got in before your next door neighbour, and suddenly someone comes to you and goes, how do I do that? How do I do it? Usually those sort of things are a warning sign that the retailers are coming in, and it's not a good term. They call it dumb money. That's what they call it. So the people that buy on the way up, or not so much on the way up, but towards the top. It's referred to as dumb money, which isn't. It's not. It's not anything. It's not to be. It's no disrespect to anybody that got in. When they first discovered it. Hey, I was considered dumb money in 2017. I was buying like crazy amounts of stuff. I was dumb money back then. But what I'm saying is that those sorts of people will probably be shaken out at some point significantly this year, I would imagine. So I'm rambling and losing my train of thought, but that's what I would expect. So it's the whole situation feels very much different to me than it will do to people who have entered in the last 6 months or so when things got really interesting, because I was buying Bitcoin, at less than 4,000 on 2 occasions. Do you know what I mean? I bought it all the way down there at the end of the last cycle, and I bought it all over again in the COVID crash. So for it to go up all this, and all the other bits that I've done in between, for it to crash 50%, it will hurt, but it won't. I wouldn't sell it down there. No way. But for other people who've been buying up here, they'll be at a loss. But I'm telling you now, even if Bitcoin ends the year at 60,000, 70,000, 75,000, even if it ends the year there, they'll still be in profit. So I don't want to influence anybody into how they trade or how they hold, but personally, there is a market cycle, there's a stock and flow ratio, there's a general expectation and a market cycle, which is basically what it is. A market cycle is a collected expectation of many people that basically expect it to go to a certain level, and it's almost certainly going to get there. All right, there's no guarantees, but it's almost certainly going to get there. And the reason, I suppose, a lot of people ask me, why is there a 4-year cycle? Everything runs on cycles, but the 4-year cycle, there's a halving event, isn't there, every 4 years? That is definitely one of the main reasons there's a 4-year cycle. So the halving takes place. In a couple of years it reaches its peak. So the halving takes place, then confidence enters the market slowly but surely, then it goes parabolic, and then it blows its top off and gets extremely overvalued. That's what's happened every time. And it's probably going to happen again. Can't give you a target of where it's going to be, but would it make a new all-time high by the end of this year? I would say I would be 95% certain that that's going to happen, just due to every single model that's ever been put out there about Bitcoin. So yeah, a shakeout would be nasty, but I've got no contingency plan to sell the lows. No, I've got contingency in the form of tether to buy them. Right, I've rambled a hell of a lot, haven't I? Let's have a look at some more coins. Could you say some things about Harmony as well, please and thanks. All right, yeah, let's have a look. I think the last time we looked at this one, I felt like it would kind of peaked a bit. Let's have a look, see what it's doing now. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's peaked. On the daily, it looks still pretty good as far as the trend's concerned. I'm missing a moving average here. Where has it gone? Where's my 7 gone? Something's going on with Binance at the moment. Hang on a minute. Something's not quite right. I've messed this whole thing up somehow. Sorry about this, guys. I don't know what's going on. Keep it skinny. Right, yeah, I mean it's still pretty bullish, but as far as it blowing its top off, let's have a look at the weekly. That is a disturbing weekly candle there. It's pretty disturbing, and the reason I say that is that the laws of Bollinger Bands is that we don't have to. 95% of price action is supposed to take place within a Bollinger Band. So for us to start a weekly outside of one and then end it with this spinning top formation leads me to consider the fact that maybe the top is in, and if it's not in, it will have another attempt at maybe reaching towards the top of this wick around here, maybe, which is obviously not too far from where we are right now, so it's a decent trade if you were to get it, but there's also a very strong chance that it will come down by this amount, back down another 24%. Absolute 100% 50-50 on this one, but even with the 50-50, even if we retrace that last candle down to the bottom of that wick, and like I say, even if that were to happen, that would be the best case scenario, is that we only revisited that wick. When you see candles like this, they're called spinning tops. They basically, and you can see this, you don't really need me to explain it to you, there's just as much people selling as there is buying, and the candle's basically right in the middle. It's absolutely 50-50 what's going to happen to this one. Absolutely, that is basically what that candle body represents. So absolutely no edge to that whatsoever. It's a gamble at this stage. You'd have to really, if anything, look into the fundamentals of Harmony One and try and think about is this something very strong, and is there a reason for it to continue? Because as far as the chart's concerned, the daily looks like it wants to continue, but the weekly suggests that maybe a deeper pullback could easily happen. Again, without trying to sound like a complete douchebag, I got in on Harmony One at around about 22 or 24 sats. So even if there is a giant pullback on this one, it would hurt, but it wouldn't shake me out of the position either. Which again, it will be different for a lot of people. I'm okay to hold mine, but I have been selling all the way up, so it's not like I've held right from the bottom all the way to the top. It was one of the first of these IEO coins that I bought at the bottom, and it was basically because there was a double bottom formation. It wasn't to do with a particularly strong trend in which we now still have. So I suppose I'll just give you this in the favour of the bulls. On the weekly, on the daily, this is where we've got a conversion baseline over here. We've got a golden cross from God knows where all the way back down here, and this trend is still in play. So for this trend to be completely cancelled out, it can sustain some heavy downtrends definitely. What would that be from down to here to there? 44%. It can sustain that because all it needs is for this to touch the price action, or for this blue to cross this red. And again, the really lagging indicators there, but this would tell you to get out of the trade if you traded it appropriately from here. And normally, you know, there's no be all and end all about these, but if you were to get in on that signal back down there, that's the sort of move that you would have got just from that. And with the Ichimoku cloud, usually when you get into a trade, you get out at an appropriate point where it tells you to, and it's not in any way close to telling you to get out of there. And an Ichi cloud would hardly ever tell you to get out at a loss. You would at least still have, I would expect 25% of the gains. Let's just say you maxed out at 100%. You would at least retain 25% of that 100%. When you got one of these get out signals, and we're no way near a get out signal. So, but that doesn't mean it can't come down by 44%. It could, but the trend is still in play on the daily. Just looks a bit scary on the weekly. That's all. BTC to USDT. That's crazy. No one ever asks me to look at Bitcoin, ever. But I mean, I made a video on it this morning, but in a nutshell, this is a bounce zone, just like we saw bounce zones around here. So touch the green 50, touch the purple 50, and you know, we've done it here. So this could be a bounce and this could be a rejection. We talked about it at the beginning of the video. There we've got the 21, we've got the 10, we've got the 20 here. This is all rejection zone. If we're in the bottom half of the Bollinger Band, usually I'm more subtly in favour of rejections than I am breakouts, but this is a bullish market, everything's bullish about it, and technically we still have this conversion baseline. Actually we don't, yeah we do really. If we see the way that the Chiku span just avoided all the candles on the way down, you know, some it's just, yeah, I mean, so it's technically not touched any of the candle bodies. It's still in an uptrend at the moment. It's not cancelled out, so there is that chance that it breaks out. I started the video with a summary saying that, look, I do expect a rejection around these zones, but if we don't get one, don't shoot me. I'm not overly convinced either way, and I suppose the one thing that's a bit of an issue is the Dixie gaining in value. But the way that this has moved in the past, big move up, big move down, big move up, we might get a move down, and that move down before it goes up again would allow for Bitcoin to rally. We are going into a weekend, so it wouldn't surprise me if we did break out of these, but I'm very, very undecided about it. But I am, you know, expecting a rejection pretty much here. If not here, then about 56, and maybe we'll get a double bottom on the green 50 like we did down here. We got a test here, a rally up here, and a test down here, and that was Elon Musk wick, like he did a few days ago. So yeah, that's that really. Beam. Let's have a look at Beam. Did that just say 4? This is pretty messed up today. This Binance chart is pretty messed up today. Right. Okay, let's think about this for a second. So Golden Cross dumped down. That's where the market dumped. Then we've rallied hard and we've retraced already to the tune of 30% more or less. 40% to that bit. We're above all major moving averages right now. Conversion baseline, that's all very good and proper. That's fine. It looks better than most actually. That was a fine sell-off. So we came down to bounce on here. So if anything, we are looking for another bounce. See where we're getting rejected from right now. That's the 20. No, that's not. That's the 10. That's the 7 simple moving average there. So yeah, I think this one wants to make another run, and if it doesn't, we'll probably catch a bounce around these zones here, around about 93 cents. But it looks okay. It looks okay. But like I say, I am expecting a rejection from here, so that will transfer over to altcoins as a whole. I suppose if you've not watched the whole live stream at the beginning, I did say that even worst case scenario, if everything broke down, if absolutely everything broke down, with Bitcoin breaking down and these breaking down, it could mean that Bitcoin dominance breaks down too, and that would cause an alt season. Even in a downtrend of Bitcoin, there could be a massive move with alts. So it's worth keeping alts in mind the whole time and spotting the most bullish ones. And this one is one of those, because we've looked at other alts where they're all the way down below the green 50 exponential. This one's not. This is above most moving averages, or pretty much all moving averages of any significance. So it's better than most. So I do like it. Is it going to continue with the run? I couldn't say, but there's no reason why it shouldn't. The only reason why it shouldn't is if Bitcoin decides to beam. Sorry mate, we're not going up anymore, we're going to go down for a bit, sorry about that. But the chart on its own wants to continue despite these significant pullbacks. I looked at it with USDT. You wanted, I did the wrong one, not beam. I looked at the wrong one. It's the same vibe. It's definitely the same vibe. It's exactly the same vibe. The only thing that we don't have is, obviously, we've been bearish for such a long time, we don't have any golden crosses on here, but we do have conversion baseline above the cloud, which is good. That's good. So if there's a coin that could do a big rally versus its sats, it would be one of these, because we've tried to, and we're almost closing above the 200 exponential, that's what we want from all of these. But as far as a trend, this was the beginning of a trend here, and we're still in that trend right now. So yeah, I mean, I like it a lot, to be honest with you. I do like it a lot. So I'm not going to say anything bad about it. The chart on its own is really good. Thoughts on ONT? So this one's good as well. More constructive. Let's have a look at what's going on. It's a bit messy down here. So that is a cross, but it's in the cloud. That doesn't really count for the conversion baseline. But we do have the golden cross here, diverging moving averages, which is nice, above all of them as well. Coming up to the top of the Bollinger Band now, so that's usually a bit of a bit of a pulley back time. Looks like it wants to start a new uptrend though. If we have a look at the way that it's moving here, it is pretty good in light of what's been going on recently. Let's measure these moves out. So that was a 23% over 2 days, but more or less bouncing pretty well from there. And yeah, it bounced from the relationship to the center of the Bollinger Band is very strong. Bounce, 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 close, open, and move. So it's good. I like this one as well. So this one is likely to, if not, I'm not going to say it's going to move massively right now, but it's starting a very nice uptrend on this daily chart. Let's have a look at the weekly. So that's pretty nice as well. There, that's the sort of signal that you want to see on a weekly. So this one is pretty promising actually. Definitely pretty promising. I'll tell you what it looks a little bit like. It looks a little bit like EOS, but better on the weekly here. So we've had a big move up and a massive dump back down. 10 exponential, test, and moving up even further. But that's the important one there. The conversion baseline on the weekly is pretty good there. So yeah, I do like this one. I think this one should do well over a prolonged period of time, given what we've just seen on the weekly. Yeah, I mean, it's had a nasty start. It's had a nasty start on it. On this chart, looks pretty horrendous. This is the sort of thing that people would look at and go, "Ooh, no, thank you." But actually, what they fail to see is that actually, if you look at the chart in a different light, it was clearly overvalued back then. Meant nothing. What we look at is the chart around here. And what we've got here is a massive cloud that we're above, that we've now crossed above. And now we're going into the green. I like it actually. I think it's good. I think given enough time, this one probably will end up retracing all the way up to here, which obviously, will take time. But if it were to do that, that's a decent move. When we see some of these setups, it's just not unfortunate that this kind of setup has happened now. If this had happened, in January, this probably would have done that. It's just that the setup has taken too long. This is the problem that EOS has had. Its chart naturally came to a point in its life where it's now got the ability, if it wanted to, or if the market allowed it to make those big moves. But because it took so long, for that setup to complete, it basically it missed a giant portion of that bull market, and that's basically what's gone on here. This has missed a giant portion of the bull market. But on the weekly, it's got a good setup now, and this setup would take one hell of a correction for it to be written off. I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but I mean, yeah, it's a good setup on the weekly. So buy it to hold it, and it should work out pretty well in the long run. Oh look, and you said EOS as well. See, I don't read full comments because I'm dyslexic. I literally just read letters. But yeah, you've mentioned EOS, and I'll show you something now. Look, it's very similar. It's the same vibe that I'm getting. In fact, ONT was better than EOS because the cloud beneath it was skinnier and it was green. But look, conversion baseline here, it's just unfortunate. It's the same vibe. It's basically the same vibe as EOS. Same kind of setup as EOS. It's just unfortunate that these setups have taken place at this stage in the market. But yeah, they're both good on the long term. I can tell you they're both good, and it would take a really nasty correction to wipe these setups off, to make them irrelevant, because they are weekly, so they're extremely lagging indicators. We could probably have, I'm not saying that this would happen, but we could probably have a week where we closed all the way down here, below $3, and then slowly climb back up, and this would still be in play. So over a long period, and I'm telling you, over a long period, like over the rest of this year, both of those charts look primed. And I don't know if you tuned in at the beginning, but if the worst case scenario happened and the market did correct and Bitcoin came down to, let's just say, 36,000 or whatever, revisiting the 20 weekly moving average. I'm not saying it's going to, or it's not going to right now, but if it did, there's a lot of signals on weekly charts for altcoins to say that, all right, it might be over for now, but it looks like the next big push for alts, like really big push, could happen from as early as May to as late as August. But that would be similar to some of the moves that we got from January onwards, which were really decent moves. They were like, a minimum of 3, maximum of like 12, 13 X's that we got from some of these coins that we were anticipating when we were hedging into them. And so I do like to look that far ahead, and I am kind of seeing that kind of vibe take place. So if we might get a miniature alt season take place if we broke down below here, but the next really, really big one looks like it's primed for anywhere between May at the earliest to as late as August at the latest. But yeah, I've gone off on a tangent there. But yeah, those two charts very very much the same, and that's how I feel about them. Weekly charts are great on both of those. Right, Matic. Oh right, someone's given me $50. That is very generous of you. Thank you very much. Right, so yeah. Matic on the weekly looks better than Harmony 1 in the way that, look, okay, so this is a good example of how we saw Harmony 1, right? So we saw the big move up and the candle close in a spinning top fashion. Matic did that last week, and now look at what's happened to Matic. It's been sucked down into the Bollinger Band, which is where it wants to be. It doesn't mean that it's not going to continue up. It could very well continue up, but this is the nature of how these charts. This is what they point to. It didn't know what it wanted to do. It opened and closed a candle body outside of the Bollinger Band, which is, it's not rare in cryptocurrency, but it's never the right thing to do, because the laws of Bollinger Band, you hear me say it all the time. 95% of price action, candle bodies price action, should take place inside of a Bollinger Band. Matic knew that, and it brought itself back down, even though it's only just dipping its toe into it. So I mean, let's go to it on the daily now that we've seen the weekly. So the daily looks a little bit worse. It's not the end of the world, but we're in the bottom portion of the Bollinger Band here, so we might be having a cooling off right now. When did we get the conversion baseline cross? I'm going to have to zoom right in. We've had such dramatic price action here. When did we get that cross? The cross took place all the way back down here. The cross I'm talking about is, of course, the conversion baseline cross, which I love, obviously. And it's getting very close to having a negative cross here. It hasn't crossed, which means that we shouldn't anticipate it crossing, but it looks like it wants to, but it hasn't actually crossed. So until it crosses, it's not saying get out of the trade. But I'll tell you now, anyone who traded that trade wouldn't really care if it crossed here or not, because they're literally talking about a gain even at this level of 16,000%. So even if the conversion baseline, said, all right, that's enough, we're making a negative cross here, time to get out of the trade, anyone in their right mind who traded this appropriately would go, that's fine by me, I'll take 16,000%, and never think about, oh, I could have had this. That's not the way to think about it. You think, I'll take 16,000%. I know I would, but yeah, for the moment, it's in the bearish portion of the Bollinger Band for the first time in a long time, and it looks like it's getting rejections from these zones. First cross as well from a 10 below a 20. So I'm not here to spread doom and gloom. Matic is one of those coins that makes massive moves. And it's definitely taken on a new life than it used to do. When we used to trade it on this channel all the time, we used to trade it. It was basically the foundation of the channel, really, Matic. I had a very good handle on the Matic chart, but it's changed. It's changed into something, that I suppose we wanted it to change into this in the past. When we were saying it's going to go to $1. Going to $1, guys, and it could easily go to $1, definitely, but it doesn't mean it's going to $1 right now. It definitely looks like it's going to have a cooling off period. Hopefully it won't go mega bearish. It went on to Coinbase as well, which means that the nice progression chart that we had here, stepping up, basically blew up, and now I suppose there's a decent sell-off taking place. So I'm not going to fool anybody into thinking that it's going to just continue to go up, but it probably will over the year. But right now it looks like it wants to chill out a bit. This is quite steep here. That is slightly oversold, but not really. It could easily come down. And look at the money flow index drooping right down, really coming out. So there's a lot of money leaving this asset. No surprise, as it came onto Coinbase and got a Coinbase pump. So I would maybe, if anything, I would wait on this one, and look for better setups, ones that haven't blown their tops off, preferably ones that haven't really started to move yet. That's where the real money is made. This is what I always try and say to people, like, don't it's nice to trade a trend when a trend is in play. Like, this is a trend in play, you could trade that, you could trade that, you could trade that. You can't really trade this because this is the change of trend for the first time, and we're getting a lot of these in these altcoins, which is why I said at the beginning, I have to say that I'm undecided, because this could be the change of trend into a downtrend. It could be, doesn't mean it will be, it could be. So I can't say buy supports here, buy this, buy that. I can't, and I wouldn't, because I don't do signals, I don't do calls. I'm not a financial advisor. But yeah, look, you don't need me to tell you that this is the first time that we've broken down from here, so it is always a time to be a little bit skeptical of whether this will continue to go up or if there is a downtrend in play. Rose, let's have a look at Rose. Same kind of vibe, isn't it, really? So this is a younger chart, which makes it more deadly in that respect. There's the price action obviously hasn't had enough time to mature like other coins have, and so if we did break down below here, it could end up being quite significant. But from what we've got here, it's been very volatile, bouncing on the green 50 all the way up, bouncing on the green 50 all the way up, bouncing on the green 50. So in that kind of behavior, we could choose to view it in that respect, but it doesn't cancel out the fact that at the moment we're still below the center of the Bollinger Band. So Let's have a look at these. That's quite steep. That's quite oversold. Again, with a new chart, it's something that's new like this, or should I say not old. Obviously, it's clearly not new, but it's not very old. Adds way more risk than I would usually like to take on. Even though there is a clear uptrend here, that is a massive it's a massive drop down to there. To be honest, that's not the worst thing I've ever seen. We've seen a lot worse than that. When did this happen? February 28th. Alright, so actually, you know, this is better than most altcoins. This has done a significant run after the dip that most altcoins are still kind of recovering from in a way. But what's the volume? Volume's it's high, but it's not mega high. Like, if I was to trade this, if someone says you're only allowed to trade one coin for the rest of your life, and it's Rose, and I had to make a decision on it, I would choose to view it on its previous behaviour, which is that it bounces on the green 50 exponential, and then it does another run. So I would say, okay, if I had no other choice, this is the only coin I could trade, I would trade it on that, because this is its previous behaviour. It doesn't necessarily like the Bollinger Band. It likes this green 50 exponential. That's what it seems to like, and so I would trade it on that. So yeah, a bounce here, moving up here. Obviously a rejection around the Bollinger Band center, so it could come back down to revisit this zone again. Or, given the way that it's reacted before, just smash right through and make another high. I don't, like I say, I'm not a strong believer in small young coins like this, because there isn't that kind of price action that I generally rely upon to give decent to have decent supports and resistances within moving averages. The only real tools that you have with all indicators is volume, time, and price. That's all indicators are. They're all based upon those three things, right? So when we see small coins like this, we've got volume, we've got price, we really just don't have that factor of time. And when you've only got three things that almost all indicators are made from, taking one of those away to a large extent, it doesn't offer a great deal of certainty with any kind of trade, which is why I always say that I'm not a fan of new coins, because for me to apply my usual skill and knowledge on them, it's not as reliable as it would do if the coin was at least a year old, if not two or more. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully, like I say, if I was forced to trade it, I would trade it based upon the green 50 exponential. It seems to like bouncing from there, but because it's a young coin, it could just go poof into, you know, it could just evaporate into nothingness. I don't know anything about Rose. I don't know what it does or anything at all, so I can't even give it that kind of bias. So Bitcoin's having a little rally up. That's nice. So you wanted to Coty to BTC. Let's have a look at that. So this is a lot better, but again, yeah, it's not the oldest chart in the world, but it's a lot better. At least we've got a 200 exponential, which is something. Nice divergences going on here above the moving averages of all moving averages. A little spiky, but no big deal. This one's better than most. So when did we get the cross, the conversion baseline cross? All the way back down here. So that's fine. That's all fine, so long as we try to make a new high from what looks like about 7 days from now, 9 days. Yeah. So if we continue to make another high, another 7, 8, 9 days, then everything will be fine. And the way that the moving averages are based at the moment is still in a bullish way. And again, this is against Bitcoin, and some of these alts have done well against Bitcoin anyway. So it's not all bad. Bitcoin has been doing some dumpage, and some altcoins have actually stayed okay on their sats. And this looks like it could have been one of them. Oscillators, they seem okay. Don't see anything of any significance on the RSI. It's a little messy, a little sketchy. Money flow index has been rejected at these very basic top levels here. Here, it's not really ever really been too overextended, but it has found rejections around these zones here. So, obviously it's getting a bit of rejection now. It doesn't like being overextended. What's the volume on this? Quite high, actually. Look, I mean, based upon the chart alone, it's a good chart, so I like it. I think it's good. Yes, we could come back down to. This is so annoying. I can't even see the prices at the side here. So annoying. But yeah, this I can't even give you the price. But it's the centre of the Bollinger Band is where I'd expect to find another bounce if it did, worst case scenario, come back down there, and it would be an opportunity, I suppose, for a buy. So yeah, that's okay. I hope you're doing well, brother. Yeah, I'm doing alright. If you have time, AVAX. Let's have a look at AVAX. Oh my god, this is so annoying. Right, so this is one of those examples of not a bubble pop, but a giant move up, and then almost like a failed attempt to make another rally. I'm not saying that this isn't going to make another rally. It could easily do one, because normally when you see things like this, then there's a lot of people waiting waiting for it to happen, desperate for it to happen, and then self-fulfilling prophecy, as it probably will. But based upon the way that the chart looks right now, it's in the same kind of vibe as Bitcoin with its moving averages. Moving averages are all kind of snaking together, which doesn't give me any kind of particular advantage of saying that it's going bullish or bearish. When you see moving averages converge into themselves and start to go up and above, and then the price action go up and above them, that's you could either call that redistribution, reaccumulation. It basically means if you want some of this, you buy it all over the place, and that's basically what's going on here. No real edge, no real particular edge to it, and so you basically buy it. It's reaccumulating after such a giant move, and that is that's beast mode, isn't it? That's a beast mode move. So yeah, I mean, you can see here that there's been attempts to buy it back, and then the market has not allowed it to continue with this particular uptrend that it was trying to start. I think it's probably a little too early for it to start. So I think this one will work out okay in the end. But for the moment, no real signal on here. But a reaccumulation zone is basically what's going on right now. Now the accumulation zone could end up coming down to these levels here before the breakout. So that's something to bear in mind, and that would be a nasty retracement. The reason I say that is that this is where the tops were here. That's 53% move back down. Not saying that it's going to do that. Worst case scenario is that it would. What I'm saying is the reaccumulation zone takes place anywhere from around that breakout zone to around about these top zones here. So the bottom of this, where this was being supported from, we'll draw these in. It'll be easier to see. So look, we've got more or less resistance, supports around here, and a breakdown from there, and a top and a rejection. Too little thing, it couldn't take it, and a further rejection. So this is clearly the area to break above and remain above. If we get above here and get a support above here, that's when the uptrend would probably start. And the bottom, like I say, the reaccumulation zone, the bottom of the reaccumulation zone probably would be around here. So when I say that this is reaccumulating, this is the potential area of it to reaccumulate, all around here. And that makes it sound scary. So you can play this in two ways. You can, like I say, you can accumulate blindly at all of these levels, and it's not a bad thing to do. I do that all the time with things when I'm confident in a chart. The problem with this chart is that it's not old enough really for any previous price action to be measured against, and so it's all measured upon your own confidence of this moving. Is it going to move? Do you believe in this? I don't know what it does. I don't know any idea what it does. But if you believe in this token, if you believe that it will move up, then you accumulate it blindly within this zone. And if you wanted to trade it, you wait for a breakout and a retest of this zone, and that would generally give you, I suppose, an upper hand in catching a move that might continue. So that's that one for you. Auction to BTC. So really young chart here, so it's difficult for me to give an opinion on it really. There's not really much to go by at all, so we'll just move it down to a 4-hourly. The 4-hourly looks pretty sorry as well, and again, even on the 4-hourly there's not much going on with it here either. One thing I would say is that if the only thing I would say, and again this because it's such a young chart, there's not much to go by. What we've got here, we've got a bit of a W formation. It's a bit crappy, but it is one all the same. And normally when you see these W formations, they do end with a big breakout. But I'm not convinced that this one will get it. But that's usually, and I say usually, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's usually quite high. I'd say it's relatively likely that when you get a W formation, you get a breakout. That this one might end in a breakout, but the chart is too young. These moving averages are almost completely irrelevant. The Bollinger Band on the daily only came into existence about a week ago, so treat it for what it is. There is a W there. Will it break out? Might do. If it doesn't, don't hunt me down, because I don't have the edge on that one. Can I have a look at AVAX? Checked that. Let's have a look at Troy. Right, so this one looks pretty sweet. It's pretty good. So yeah, is the main question is this uptrend going to continue? Market dependent, I would say it definitely will. Market dependent, very spiky around here, though. So I would measure this one on the top of these candle bodies to get above there. Very, very spiky. What's the old volume on this one? It's pretty low actually, isn't it? Pretty low, so that probably accounts for a lot of those spikes. So let's have a look at this. It could be gearing up for another attempt to at least try to get above 2.4 cents. But because of the spikiness, I would imagine that this would go one of two ways. And I think if the market permits the move, then what we're looking to see would be a nice, decent, probably big breakout move. Because when you have volume so low like this, it doesn't take much for massive moves to take place if people stop bloody selling it. Do you know what I mean? That's what's going on. That's what these wicks are. People go getting out, and they're getting out all over the place. So this is clearly a problem with the volume here, but the chart itself is set up quite nicely, so it would be constructive for us to break above here and have a candle body closure above these last two candle bodies, which would basically be a matter of breaking above this resistance and closing above it and retesting it. We don't even need to retest it. Maybe just a daily candle close above there should have continuation. But the spikiness is definitely directly related to the fact that it's low volume. But if this one starts to break out and volume trickles into it, you will get another melt-up move like this one already has. But for the moment, this is a bit no man's land. We are above the 10 exponential, but we've not really been supported on anything particularly. This is like catching knife territory, just being bought up almost randomly, really, here. And no direct relationship to moving averages, really. So I would be happy to wait this one out, given the fact that it looks so spiky. It wouldn't take a great deal for it to dump. Basically, if the market dumped, this one could dump quite severely, just because the volume's so low. There's not many people in this at the moment, clearly, and the ones that are in it, it wouldn't take much for them to sell it and bring it down more. So I would wait for a better opportunity to buy it. I would expect it to probably come down to the centre of the Bollinger Band, and that would be a decent opportunity to buy it. I would say, if the market is still healthy. And again, we are at the moment testing these zones on Bitcoin now, aren't we? So I just don't know how I'll react to them. So yeah. Hopefully Elon Musk will keep his mouth shut this time and just let the charts do their own thing. That's what we want. We don't want pumps. I like Elon Musk, by the way. I'm not slagging him off. He's a good lad. Right, so this is a prime example of something that I really cannot help you with, I'm afraid. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. 4 hourly looks okay for the moment, but again, it's a very new chart. But the 4 hourly kind of just, lots of coins look like this, don't they? I always see coins look like this all the time. This is like so many coins that come onto Binance. So they come on, they have a big move up, and they sell off. The big move up and a larger sell off. So I would imagine that it will move up, but it's not going to do that right now. It doesn't want to do that right now. And if it did, it would just be a random knife catcher. Oversold RSI there, so that would have been a decent knife catch. But can it continue? I don't know. Moving averages are all mixed up. We've got the 50 here, the 20 there, and the 10 there. So they're all mixed up. They're on top of each other, and the chart is so young. It's, you know, I can't really help. But you wanted it against Bitcoin. Hopefully that's an older chart. Is it an older chart, or is it just the same? It's the same deal. It looks better against Bitcoin, but this big red cloud here on the 4 hourly, that's not a good sign. That's not what we want. We want to be above all these clouds, if anything. Now, if you want to catch knives, that you know, price moves above clouds eventually. So you can catch a knife here and go, well, I bought it and I won the trade, and I would congratulate you on that. It's just not my style. What we could say though, if anything, is that there's a bottom here, and then that's also the bottom here. What does that correspond to over here? Right. So okay. So we've got resistances and a launch pad. Support and support. So maybe that was the double bottom. Again, this is a 4 hourly chart. A double bottom on a 4 hourly chart, do they exist? Well, you better hope they do if you want to get in on this one. Maybe that is the double bottom, but it is only a 4 hourly chart, so perhaps that is your double bottom. But if it's not, like I say, don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. There is definitely, you know, a reasonable chance that we bounce from here, but the last time we bounced was more significant than this time, which is pretty anemic, and that is definitely because, you know, the Bollinger Bands were much more extended and stretched because of the large move when it came on here. But I'm not really feeling it. What's the volume on this? 130. It's not bad, but it's not massive. So if you want to play that, you can. I would wait for it just in case it came down to test this zone here. And again, Binance has decided not to tell me the stats properly. It's cut the. I'm gonna have to sort this bloody computer out. I was halfway through fixing it today. That's why my first video that I made today didn't have any sound on it, because I was just, you know. Right. What is it? What's the problem? What is the problem here? I'm zoomed out. What's going on here? Look, I can zoom all the way out like this, and zoom all the way back in. It does that. It still doesn't tell me it. Anyway, control and 0. Let's try that. Control 0. Oh right, yeah, no. So this would have to be a shutdown for me. Sometimes Binance is just weird like this. I don't think it's my browser. I think it's just Binance being weird, to be honest with you, mate. But thanks for your help anyway. Evening CC, a little late. Yeah, could you have a look at the usual SXP, ZIL, Ocean, and Seller? That's a lot. You're hogging the channel. But I'll let's have a look at Ocean, because it is cracking on a bit here, guys. Right, so Ocean. So yeah, that's a mighty bounce there. But again, you know, rejected from the Bollinger Band. So those on the Telegram, I did say that this is pretty much the biggest dip that I bought yesterday. One of the only ones actually that I bought yesterday, and it was a fluke that it went up so much. I mean, that was a nice bounce there, even from where we are right now. It's 22%. It is a fluke. I do buy this at every opportunity, but the reason was because 50 exponential and the 50 moving average, both at the same place, offered an obvious kind of place for a bounce. So that's where I bought it. I like it. I always like it. I think it's great. I think this is brilliant. A brilliant chart. It's really kicked up a notch. It's highly volatile, and usually when you see things of such volatility, and look, the relationship with the green 50 was clear on this last run. It's clear again here. Look, at the end of the day, for me, this one was always decided on the weekly. The classic W formation. This is, I can't remember what token we were looking at before, but that's what you normally, or I would normally expect to see when you get such a clear W. This was a W on a weekly, so you're going to get a bigger move. Has this move played out to its full extent? Might have done. It might have done. Also, if you have a look, that last dip took us to the 10 exponential. So very obvious places to buy that dip, but Will it continue from here? Let's have a look at the moving averages. Sorry, the oscillators here. So the money flow index is actually trickling down, so that's not a good sign. That might suggest that there would be further downside on this one, potentially, even if it's just a rejection from here. A break above here would probably see a savage move, making a new all-time high, but it's not very clear as to what it wants to do at this level. It has to close above the 200, the center of the Bollinger Band for me to have any real opinion over it. We also have conversion baseline over here, which is still technically in play. So the uptrend from this signal down here is still in play, but we don't have long before it's cancelled out to its first notch. We've got 7 days, we've got a week for it to make a new all-time high and bring this Chiku span above the price action. Otherwise, it would suggest that actually, it will have some further downside. Not massively. I mean, it depends on the market. Obviously, I know I keep saying that if the market wants downside, then this will obviously have downside to it. But at the moment, there is a trend in play. We've got 7 days to continue that trend. Otherwise, the trend will it will taper off. Let's just say it will taper off. It might dump, but that initial trend will taper off. And I'll look at one more. What haven't we looked at? So we've looked at Harmony 1, which will basically be like seller. So we've already looked at that. Shall we look at SXP, shall we? Give some other people a chance. Yeah, we've got more price action. We'll clearly look at this quite a lot, don't we? So again, this is highly volatile, suggesting that if it wants to continue, the big moves will be ahead. When you get these big moves up, especially with SXP, which has had such a horrendous downside to it, I like this chart. Probably more than I should, to be honest, because it's a pretty deadly looking chart. Look, big move up, massive move down, big move up, massive move down, green 50, just like loads of other altcoins did. Big move up again, center of the Bollinger Band, big move up, green 50. So if we do make a big move up, these areas I would expect to get taken out, but each one of these levels, these layers are resistances, but I think it will continue. Let's have a look at these. So that's pretty steep, actually, so that's not good to see. That's a pretty steep MACD cross there, and nothing particularly oversold. So if the market took a dive, this would be very vulnerable to more downside, maybe even all the way down to the 200 exponential, maybe, where it would definitely get bought up in my opinion, if we bought up there. We've never touched that since it came on. So this is, again, SXP feels like it's been around for a long time, but it's really not. It's quite young. We've only got the 200 exponential came into existence a couple of months back, and it came straight in with the golden cross, which was dumped down into. End of the day, though, we've got higher highs, we've got higher lows. So I would expect, if the market favours it, higher highs again. This higher high here would bring us up to the previous candle body highs, and if that higher high gets met and we are able to be supported above there, then we would get the Moon Boy dream, where we reach, obviously, the people will be thinking about, there will probably be some significant sell-offs around $5 or just before $5, but breaking above there, it would probably go crazy. I bet you it would go crazy after there, just because there's a lot of people that want this. They've seen what it did in the past, and it's like one of those things. But I'm like I say, at the moment it's painful. But to bring it back down to earth, right? So I was trading this one back down here, and if we just have a look at the way that it's behaved ever since it started this new uptrend, we can relate to it more. So I didn't buy it here. I got involved, I think, around these zones in bot trading, because I saw that there was big moves up and big moves down, and again, that's what's going on here. So this would be a good bot trader, a good bot trading token, because of the highs and lows and highs and lows. So this looks small, but it wasn't small. I can tell you that it wasn't small. So let's just measure it from the reclaiming of the Bollinger Band. 50% move up, win, rejection, 37% move down, loss, and then from here we had another 56% move up, win, and we had another 30% move down, loss, so on and so on. So these are big moves up and big moves down, big moves up, big moves down, and then a melt up. So if we just look at what that's, does this look similar on a larger scale? It looks exactly the same. In my opinion, it looks exactly the same. So it's performing, the same as it did down here, with more or less the same kind of moves, really. So let's just have a look. So Bollinger Band, there's a 100% move. and then back down to 50% move. So kind of obviously amplified by 2 times the same kind of behavior it did down here. So if we continue with this behavior, it would likely end in a melt up. But again, you know, is the market going to allow that? That's the main question. The chart to me suggests that it would. It's the same behavior here that it had down here, and actually it's more bullish up here because the moving averages are in more of a bullish situation down here. I mean up here than they were down there. So I'm very much in favour of it continuing with this uptrend, but not without some significant, massive pullbacks. How many more comments have we got here? Well, I'll tell you what. There's right. How do I right? You say my browser's zoomed in to 10, but I keep zooming out, and it's still the same bloody vibe. This is I don't know. I appreciate you trying to help, but I'm failing to understand it. And it feels like it's getting worse, actually. It feels like it's getting worse. You guys don't want to see me fanning around like an old granddad trying to work out how to use a PC, so we'll just move on. Can I have a look at Ethereum Classic? And yeah, I can. So time's ticking on, so I'm going to have a look at these ones that that people have donated for, and then I think I'll call it a night there. You know, XRP. Let's have a look at XRP. So XRP looking pretty good here. So reclaiming these support zones here, retesting them a couple of times, 1, 2, and bang. Moving averages above all of them. Surprisingly looking pretty well. Now I heard through the grapevine that there was a pump group of some form that might have forged this move. It did seem to work, you know, completely opposite to the way that the rest of the market was. So it is a little bit suspicious that it was doing it. Short-term time frames is always really difficult with XRP. It's such an unpredictable coin, but the way that it looks right now, it looks really healthy. Not really healthy, but it looks better than most. We're above the clouds, we're above all major moving averages, and actually we've even got positive slopes on MACD, so it's kind of the opposite of most of these coins. Who would have known, eh? Who would have known? Long-term time frames, I'm very much in favour of them. Conversion baseline here, so we take that for what it's worth. This is a bullish signal on the weekly. My overall view on XRP, because I've broken it down lots of times throughout probably about the last 8 months or so, I am a believer that this chart will progress into making a new all-time high by the end of the year, and this is one of those prime examples of something that's going to have the freedom after around about May. If it does it earlier, fine, but I would be quite happy hedging into this towards, you know, into the third quarter. To a large extent, in anticipation for not the biggest move in the world, but something that is relatively predictable, in my opinion, relatively predictable, that it will move quite well towards, you know, the third and fourth quarter, and I will probably hedge into it. Doesn't matter where the price is at the time. I'll be quite happy to hedge into it because the market cycle is very clear, in my opinion, that the third and fourth quarter is where XRP will move. For the moment, you know, it's looking okay. It's definitely looking okay. I can't really explain it. I can't get over the fact that the chart is a fine mess, and so that's a little disappointing to me. But it's looking all right at this level, I have to say. But continuation from here. So this area here that we're getting rejections from, more or less correspond to these tops here, these tops here, and these tops here. So for it to break above here, yeah, we could be talking about 70 cent again, and maybe more. But for the moment, we're not quite there yet. We're not there yet, and there's not really much to say that we're going to be there either. Let's have a look on the lower time frames. Yeah, it's still very messy, and I mean that's a pullback already. I mean, it's 24% down. I got. It's very difficult for me to to give you a genuine opinion on the short-term timeframes, but I can tell you now I'm very bullish on it in the long term. And what I mean by that is it's all-time high or maybe a bit more. So yeah, it's not bad, you know. And like I say, I'm happy to hedge into it in the long term. Third and fourth quarter, and Ethereum Classic. Let's have a peep at that. So Ethereum Classic, oh, that's a 4-hourly. Doesn't look particularly good on the 4-hourly, I have to say. Incoming death cross taking place there, but we'll see what that. Yeah, and again, yeah, not particularly healthy here either. It had a giant, nice run, and after then, it's just it's not been happy. Personally, I don't like the look of it right now, and even the chart itself is looking pretty crappy there. Have I ever seen a W that looks like that, you ask? No, I've not. I haven't. Okay, right, so this is something, I suppose, on the long-term timeframes that offer an opportunity. Conversion baseline cross here above the cloud, supported on the 10 exponential, could offer an opportunity. This wick broke down below here, so this is like an EOS type vibe. And when is this? So this is the sort of thing I'm talking about. When it comes to August, this will have this freedom to move. We've already got the cross here on the weekly, which suggests that a trend will begin here. Now, if we measure that 26 periods ahead, how long is that? So that's 139 days away from cancelling that vibe out, and this is 139 days away. 132, 139 days away from having the freedom to rally significantly. So the signals here for a weekly continuation, but because it's a weekly continuation, it means that it could take a long time for it to continue. It's not going to be cancelled out for another 139 days, and also it's not going to have the absolute be-all and end-all freedom to continue a massive well, it can continue from here, let's not get me wrong, it could continue from here, but the freedom for the big moves are again 139 days, so mark that in your calendar. It doesn't mean this is going to happen on day 139, it just means that when it comes around to this zone here, that's when the big moves can easily be had. They can be big moves all the way, you know, it could be big moves from tomorrow. This is, the signal's already there, but yeah, the problem is that this has sold off significantly already, but we bounced from here, I suppose. So look, I'm undecided on the short-term timeframes, but long-term, this one looks like it's set up for something big. Like I say, between May and August is where I'm seeing a lot of these signals take place. You know, between May and August, alts I think will do some decent rallying. You know, like the ones that we saw in January and beyond, and probably more. But yeah, long term looks great, to be honest. Right, let's have a flick through some of these. Kazuma, what's the ticker for that? I don't know about Avi. I can have a look at that. If you can give me the ticker for that. Right, Avi, a very short, young chart on the weekly there. On the daily, so on the daily, it's not particularly right. So because the chart is so young, it's taken away a lot of my superpowers, right? Not that I really have any, but you know, the indicators aren't as reliable on charts that don't have price action that goes back too long. Now, obviously, this has moved really dramatically. This is the first time we've really, since its mega rally, we launched here. If you can just have a look at this, we touched the green 50 exponential there for the first time, and we launched from it. Now, since then, we hadn't touched it until we broke down where all these altcoins are breaking down. Now, we broke down below it significantly. It's the first time we've done that. Closed below it for the first time ever, and then had a bounce, and then we broke down from it again, and now we're getting rejected from it. So, I'm not particularly bullish on it right this minute. To be honest, I have to say I'm not particularly bullish on it right this minute. It could turn a corner. What's the volume on it right now? Pretty high. Alright, so it could turn a corner, but for the moment we're being rejected and we're below most moving averages. but historically, this is like new behaviour for it. So we don't know how it will react exactly, because we just don't have that history, we don't have that relationship with the moving averages, we don't even have a 200 exponential, so we're below pretty much all major moving averages of any significance, and they're kind of all in the wrong place. We've got a 20 here, 50 there, a 10 there, they're all higgledy-piggledy mixed up, so there's no real edge on the daily, I'm afraid. It'd be a matter of reaccumulation with a bit of a bearish overtone, and we've got a death cross here. Not that means we had a death cross here, a golden cross here, death cross. So again, it's definitely reaccumulating, because it's snaking around all the moving averages. There's no trend in play. So if you wanted to buy it blindly and hold on to it in the hope that it will continue, this is how you do it, and it's basically a matter of testing your wills. But yeah, for the moment it's not looking particularly good. I'm not going to say it's going to dump into the depths of despair or anything like that, but it's not for me an entry point, because there's no support. We're not being supported on anything, and it's discovering new behaviour, if that makes sense. Let me just, considering you paid $50, let me just check the ticker. I'll just Google what Kazuma would be. Just give me a second and we'll have a look at that, if it's on Binance. Because, contrary to popular belief, I don't trade every single coin in the world, and KSM, right, is that on here? Because this is one of the reasons I like these live streams, because I get to look at stuff I'd never normally look at. Right, so this one's definitely better, right? So you can see, you don't need me to tell you that this is in an uptrend, and so because it's in an uptrend, we can treat it as such. When did we get? Alright, so we've obviously looked at this, at some point in the past, because we had a little area to say, let's see if we can break out of here. So obviously that's broken out quite dramatically from there. This itchy cloud started back here, and it's been in play all the time, and it's still in play now. So the trend is your friend until the end of the trend is the saying, and this trend is still in play. When something's gone this bullish, we use these moving averages, each one giving us an opportunity to buy in, and it's a little messy, but it's still above the 10 exponential, wanting to continue to make new highs. Now, because we're going up and down to test the 10, we're up. We tested the 10 yesterday on that big sell-off that we had yesterday, and we're already straight above it. So this is, I'd probably say, out of all the charts we've looked at today, this is the most bullish, because it's still in an uptrend, a very clear uptrend. It's not been affected by anything. Just check the volume again on that. So the volume's really high on it. Let's have a look at how extended we are. We're not even particularly overextended. We don't even have any bearish divergence there on the daily. Weekly is not going to show us much other than how epic it has been. Actually, just go back to that. Right, so the weekly is about to close a candle. Well, it's not about to close a candle, is it? We're Friday, but we're outside of the Bollinger Band already. So does this result in a spinning top? I don't know. How has this behaved in the past? Not. So this was the last time we opened a weekly candle above a Bollinger Band, and we had a good run. But we did end up coming essentially back down. But it's a very difficult one to say when a trend is so strong. But the trend is definitely still going, so I would expect, if the market is fine, this trend will continue to go on. We would look at I suppose potential areas to get out by looking at these money flow indexes. The weekly is at 93. On these young coins like this, you can see them go up to as much as 99, but usually when something gets to about 96, I'd be considering getting out. RSI is particularly high actually on the weekly, so but it's still constructive. Trend is still in play, so that's how I would choose to look at it. And with each move, they are big, but they're not breaking outside of the Bollinger Band on the daily for a great period of time. And when they do, they come back in. So this one's probably going to come back out a little bit, I'd imagine, then get sucked back down, back in. You'd wait for, if you wanted an entry point on this one, you'd wait for the 10 exponential to catch up with the price action. So you might kick yourself and go, oh, I should have bought yesterday. And now, if I want to get in on this uptrend, I've got to buy it now. I wouldn't look at it like that. I'd just wait patiently and wait for it to retest the 10 exponential. You know, it will happen. It will happen. It's just there's no need to jump in on anything. It will happen. This is relatively constructive. It always comes back down to at least the 10, maybe even the center of the Bollinger Band. But it's a good try. It's a good coin. So thanks for bringing it back to my attention. I like the look of it. And I think something else just came through. We'll have a quick look at these. We get some generous tips tonight. I'm enjoying this. Normally this is just for Patreon users, you see, but what I'm doing is I'm opening it up to the public, not to get tips, by the way. So really, you don't need to tip me at all. It's just so you can get a taster of what the Patreon is about. It's only £7.50 a month. That way you can save your tips. You don't need to tip me. You could get essentially 2 of these live streams every month. No, every week. 2 a week for £7.50 a month. So you can save your tips. You don't need to pay me tips. Just join the Patreon and you can tune in twice a week. Right, GIF. GTO, right. Right, okay, let's have a look. Well, it's pretty good. Is the volume low on this one? What it is? Yeah, it's very low. So I usually tell that by how spiky it is. Right, so I mean it is in an uptrend at the moment, but the volume, because it's so low, it could be pretty deadly if there was a sell-off. So it's not all that young either. Normally when something has this kind of formation like this U shape, they do end up mooning, but I would only be confident in buying it at this point here, if I wanted to trade that breakout. So I would probably say this is probably going to continue, just because of the nature of how these formations often play out, and the fact that it is low volume, it obviously makes it scarier to buy into, because they can dump quite heavily. But yeah, these formations usually, with crypto anyway, play out quite dramatically. So let's look at this as an area of support, and if we are lucky enough to get there, or the green 50 exponential, which we would, most altcoins around these, all cryptocurrency has been testing the green 50 exponential, which in one way is good, because there's a relationship there that they seem to be riding upon. It's also a little bit scary because they're below the center of the Bollinger Band. Long term, this one I probably would say will do a decent run. It's already peaked past its all-time high. I think it might have overshot for the moment. It's coming back down. If we don't bounce from here and make a new all-time high, we would definitely get an opportunity to buy around here. What's that? 3.1 cent, or maybe even 2.8 cent. Long term, I think it's good. Short term, it's peaked here, hasn't it? What's the retracement? This is we're looking at it on a daily, so it's deadly because it's low volume. So that's what makes me concerned over it. But on the weekly, I suppose, for what it's worth, not that it's very old, the weekly looks okay as well. Again, like I said a million times, when something is as young as this, it's difficult for me to give you an exact opinion. I would expect it probably to go up over time anyway. And the fact that it's low volume offers you massive reward to quite high risk. That's the beauty of it. Like, for instance, you probably never seen me before or watched any of my videos, but one of the videos I was making was about Holochain, back when it was down at its lows, and I was buying into that when it was extremely low volume. It was like $500,000 at the time. It was like really low, and it was, it tests you. It really does test you, because there were signals on there. That chart is quite old, but the volume was so low. And I'm just using it as an example. I saw signals on the weekly that I thought were pretty good, and that offered it to do, I thought, at best it'll do a full retracement to its all-time high. But because the volume was so low, you got these wicks all over the place, and it just made you test yourself. You're like, am I an idiot for buying Holochain? Am I an idiot? Have I got this wrong? Because every time it goes up, it just gets sold down into, and that's because the volume is so low that it just couldn't sustain the price. There's people just selling it off all the time. you're probably going to suffer the same fate on this one by buying in. But the beauty of it being so low volume is that if it does manage to keep its momentum going, you laugh all the way to the bank. Like Holochain did more than a 10x, in a really short space of time. But Holochain was an older chart, so it had more conviction to its signals, and this one, it does have good signals. This is an example here. We've got a conversion baseline cross above the cloud. That's a good signal on a weekly. That should have continuation, but again, the chart is not very old. It's less than a year old. We've got this formation here, this U shape. That's a good signal. Well, it's not a signal, it's a good formation to have, but again, the volume's so low, it could go either way. But I probably would say there's probably more reward to risk on this one. But if you were to be buying it, be prepared for some major downside and maybe some long-term hodling. But if it were to go, it would probably go quite well. But it might take a bit of time. Like I say, we're at a pivotal moment at the moment in the markets. If we were to go down, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But again, with the way that I'm seeing loads of these, at least the top cap alts as well, and a lot of altcoins in general, from between May to August, there's some pivots there, some major ones. So the worst case scenario, you'll probably end up being underwater for a period of 2 to 5 months, and then all will be given back to you. Everything, I'd imagine, will be given back to you. Even if you ended up going underwater by below more than 50%, 60%, and you were about to put the noose around your neck and write the note, just remember, just wait out till August, because the things I'm seeing here on so many altcoins are very similar to the patterns that were that I was seeing back in November, to say that something special is going to happen with alts in mid to late January. And I'm seeing the same kind of vibe. So if we were to go down, if everything were to go down, it's not the end of the world. It's just a matter of probably just going into hibernation for a bit, just waiting it out. Anywhere from May to August, there'll probably be a major alt season. And have a look at Litecoin, shall we? That's annoying. So this is right. I've looked at Litecoin in my own personal time, right? And this is a W formation, all right. So this is what we talk about for one of the situations that basically ends up usually mooning. But because it's a formation, it doesn't mean it's going to happen today or tomorrow or anything like that. But what it is saying is that I am a W formation, and I like to end up with a melt up that easily will take off beyond these areas here. But as far as time frames concerned, this is always the problem with one of these. We just don't know when it will happen. It could go down. Let's look at Ocean for an example. Let's just bring up the Ocean chart, because that, I can say, that worked out really well when we were planning for the melt up based on the W formation. So it doesn't look like a W now because this whole area is massively extended, but look, 1, 2, top of the W, and we did have a big dump down, like it was a big one, and even these ones as well. This was a dump to the tune of 33%. If we were getting excited here, we still came down another 30% here. So testing our patience the entire time, but then ultimately rewarded when it launched from, let's just measure it from the reclaiming of the of that Bollinger Band on the weekly, so 300% more or less. So this is what I'm saying here, like we've got this W formation, more or less got a W formation. Does it mean that we can't dump down further? Of course it does, but the overall picture for me would be this will melt up beyond this zone here, but it's a weekly chart, take a long time. Could this be another one of those ones, May to August? Yeah, definitely. Look, this one I'm pretty confident in the long term. But immediately right now, not so much. But like I say, between May and August, easily we'll take this out and beyond. The power of alts will be fully realized, even if they're not realized immediately now. Which there could be another alt rally, given the way that the Bitcoin dominance is teasing with breaking down below 60%. If it breaks down below 60%, there will be an alt rally. But I am seeing so many signatures with offering the same kind of time zones. May at the earliest, August at the latest, huge, massive alt seasons. And yeah, with this kind of formation in play at the moment, yeah, hedging into altcoins at this level is not the stupidest thing in the world, even if you get 50% down. I know that sounds a ridiculous thing to do, but if you're happy to wait it out for more appropriate areas to pick it up, that's fine. That's fine as well. Litecoin, I think, is people have probably just forgotten all about it, and it's probably having a bit of a time off moment, but the chart looks good on this formation. The chart even looks good on moving averages on the weekly as well. We've even got, it's not perfect, we do have divergence of the conversion baseline, so it's all pretty good. And let's measure this one out to when the cloud starts to move up and go green. 62 days, 34 days, 41 days. So this is bringing us up until May, so this could be one of the early ones that picks off around May. So this is what I mean. This one looks like it might be one of the leaders of the next altcoin rally when May comes around. But again, this is just one of those things. Anyone can say anything, can't they? Anyone can say anything. When they give such a long projection, I don't need to reap the wrath of being wrong, I suppose, by saying that. But it's not. I'm not saying it like a moon boy would normally post something on the internet and say, "End of year, $1 million." I mean, I'm not doing it because of that. It's based on the charts, and the weeklies are often the best telltale signs of anything significant, and that's how I managed to get pin down the alt season, I suppose, for the one that happened in mid to late January. If anyone's on this channel who watch my videos, they can vouch for me. I was talking about it for ages. I was saying mid to late January, I'm telling you, mid to late January, and then mid to late January came around and it actually happened. I was like, oh, the TA works. And it wasn't based on one thing, it was based on many altcoins that all had the same kind of signatures, just like what I'm seeing here. So if we don't get this little alt season, which is all it would be, if we break down below 60, we'll probably come all the way down to maybe 58, maybe at lowest 57. It would be an alt rally. It wouldn't be a massive alt season. And I'd imagine Bitcoin would probably take, this is where you'd probably hedge into Bitcoin really for another big push up. May to August. I'm telling you now. I'm not saying it just to say it. I am saying it because that's how I'm seeing it, and it's the same way that I picked the last ones out. So you're paying tips anyway, so that's really grateful. Honestly, I'd never get tips because I don't do these live streams for that. It's all part of the Patreon. So if you do want to join the Patreon, like I say, there's links in the channel below. It's a bargain. It's a bargain from what you've paid in tips. You'd get you get your money's worth just from joining that instead. Plus there's training videos on there, some tutorials and stuff like that. Anyway, I am going to leave it there, but thanks a lot everybody for joining, and yeah, I hope you have a nice evening. Next live stream on Tuesday, and yeah, thanks for watching. Take it easy, have a good evening, see you later.